Welcome back to Partnerships Unraveled, the podcast where we unravel the mysteries about channels and partnerships on a weekly basis. My name is Efe, and I'm excited to announce our special guest, Bilel. Bilel, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Efe. Thanks for having me today. Really happy to be here.
Thank you for joining, Bilel. I'm really excited because I think you wrote a groundbreaking white paper about how Web3 is going to change channels, and we're going to dive into that white paper. But before we start, I would like you to give you an introduction. Tell us who you are and where you come from.
Sure. Well, I'm Bilel. I'm the global director leading the marketing development at HP. And my job actually is very simple. Make sure that the partner can grow with HP, stay loyal to HP, and have the smoothest experience when it comes to MDF. I've always been at the intersection of business and innovation. I spend a lot of my time looking at how new technology, emerging technology like AI and blockchain are reshaping how companies, work together, exchange value. And it's a space that is moving so fast, and I love it.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's super interesting. I read your white paper in detail, and I think the kind of premise of the white paper is you talk about how today in the channel, in the ecosystem, trust is not necessarily lacking, but it's built on an outdated system that slows down the entire partner experience. I think, the problems that we see with channel incentives, MDS rebates, that it could take a lot of time. There could be errors, there could be fraud, and those kind of problems that we all encounter in the channel. So what was the moment or insight that kind of convinced you that the current system is outdated? What was the turning point for you that realized that this needs to be changed?
Right. So for me, leading the global marketing development fund, my job is to constantly listen to the partners, right? What's working, what is painful, what is slowing them into what I call the partner happy path, right? And actually the truth is the system that we are using it's an infrastructure based on a Web2 infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's centralized. It depends on many gatekeepers internally or even externally, right? I think, Web2 has been extremely great over the last 20 years. When you think about it, related to, when it comes to the internet, mobile device, social media, everything, all of these tools basically help, to accelerate the globalization. And that's thanks to the Web2 infrastructure. Now, the challenge that you face is that the more you scale, and you start to operate in more than 200 countries, the more friction you create, right? Because you have more teams, you add more rules, more checks, more approval into the process. And suddenly you start to deliver what I call bureaucracy at scale, right? So really for me it's MDF, it's based on a Web2 infrastructure. And if you look at the recent research, whether it's coming from CRN, the Channel Co or Tech SA, so the key feedback that's always coming back is partner experience is fragmented, MDF is too slow, MDF is outdated, and the trust is not strong anymore, right? So that's maybe when it became so clear for me that it's not about people and the trust on our people or the lack of trust with our people. It's the infrastructure itself that is outdated.
Mm-hmm. I remember in the white paper, there was this data, I think in the US, every year, 174 billion is spent in channel incentives. It's a crazy amount. And I guess, what you said about bureaucracy at scale is so true, because now there are so many partners. You kind of talk about Microsoft, they have 400,000 partners worldwide. It's how do you build a system that you can keep track with everything that's going on among your partners? And I was kind of really amazed with the solution that you proposed, how you're going to use Web3. I feel like there's this negative stereotype about Web2, or maybe people don't understand it quite well yet. Maybe some people see it as just crypto. They don't really understand what blockchain means. But you propose a very specific, a tangible, real case, practical use for smart contracts, zero knowledge proof, stable coins, also AI to act as the intelligence in that system as well. Can you walk us through how that looks like in real life, and maybe share a real world use case of how a vendor and a partner might use this system?
Absolutely. So let me start maybe to zoom out, right? Web3 is simply the next evolution of Web2, and Web2 is the next evolution. What was the next evolution of Web 1.0, right? So if we look back when Web 1.0 was, in the 90s, and the feature or the capability was all about read, right? So you go into a homepage, you go to, welcome, hello world, right? Those are famous, web page where that was the first version of the internet, right?
Mhm.
Web 2 came, roughly in 2005 when it's not about read anymore. It's read plus write, right? So it's a rise of platform. It's a rise of, user generated content. You have platform like Facebook, YouTube, Uber, you name it, right?
Mhm.
Web3 2.0 it's an emerging technology, right? It's very recent in terms of adoption, but it takes into consideration the read, the write, and the own, right? So we start moving to an ecosystem that is centralized to an ecosystem that is decentralized. Blockchain did not come from a crypto hype. It actually goes back to the 70s, and this is what I've been writing in my white paper, where two American researchers, one at Stanford University, they were so convinced on how do you secure communication in an open network, right? So they started to leverage a public key encryption, and fast forward to now, this public key encryption is becoming the backbone of all the different transactional interaction in the banking system, in the e-commerce, in secure, in messaging that you will see in a WhatsApp or Telegram application. So really for me, blockchain is 40 years of innovation, more than 40 years of, constant improvement and constant technology improvement, right? In 2024 alone, it's not only about the innovation, but in 2024 alone, blockchain now processing more than $28 trillion in value. It's more than Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. Payments are becoming faster, they're becoming cheaper, and they are borderless, right? A payment in stablecoin is like sending a WhatsApp message. It's, instantly.
Mhm.
Decentralized finance, another KPI that I like to use is the decentralized finance. Last year, $240 billion of capital has been deployed in the Web3 and in the blockchain infrastructure. It's not hype anymore, right? It's not a niche anymore. You have major institutions, BlackRock, Grayscale, JP Morgan, and you name it, right? That are all in this space. In terms of users, we are talking about more than 700 million users in the blockchain. So it's maybe 3 times more than Netflix users, right? So I like to give a bit of perspective on this one. And that's what I did that a lot on my white paper, because again, it's not a niche. It's not a hype. It's not, only a crypto money that gonna sell for the black market. No, it's actually, a technology that is being used for financial institution. Now, to come back to your question related to, a real use case for Chanel, I love to use this maybe, analogy. Let's say, Efe, that, you want to imagine the perfect playground with your friend, and you say, okay, in this playground, I want to have an open, very transparent, and very fair, game that I'm going to decide. I will call the first layer, the layer one. This is your notebook. And what you see in your notebook is every transaction that's happening in this playground are being recorded, right? Are being recorded into the notebook. Here, this is a blockchain.
Mhm.
The good thing with being recorded into your notebook is that nobody can erase, nobody can change, nobody can cheat on the transaction, right? The moment that is recorded, it's immutable. The second layer is what I call the robot referee. Here is very simple. We decide that if someone scores 4 goals, well, there will be a robot that will give a little treat, a little sticker instantly. That's what I call smart contract. So there is no more discussion, no more waiting. The rules of the game are super clear, and everybody is transparent and understand. The third layer is what I call the secret keeper, so the zero knowledge proof. And here, really the technology that was that has been released back in the 90s is how do you prove that something happened without revealing the identity of that person, right? So it's a massive new infrastructure, right? That change everything in terms of how you interact. Now let's imagine this applying to MDF. Let's take a concrete use case of MDF or rebate, but I will take MDF. The MDF rules are inside a smart contract. So you decide what's going to be my rule of the game for my MDF and what behavior I want to have related to MDF program. So when a partner reach a specific ROI, a specific target of ROI, you name it, whether it's a number of impression, number of leads, what you're going to do is to release the little treat. And here the little treat will be a reward, the payment, right? And the payment is then released automatically. Payment will happen in a stablecoin. A stablecoin is nothing but just a digital money that stays the same value. So one stablecoin equal $1, and it can move 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's borderless, right? It's globally. So that means if you want to pay a channel partner that is in Nigeria or in Philippines, and your company is based in the US, where the payment is done in less than 20 seconds, right? So for me, Web3 introduced what I call programmable money, programmable incentive. It becomes much more transparent in terms of rules. It's instant settlement. And again, it's not science fiction. It's happening today.
Mm-hmm. And I love that. Let's say we forward maybe 5-10 years where let's say that this system has been adopted. Let's say we've evangelized it. We got the buy-in at an executive level from the vendors, partners, and everyone is using. How do you see it kind of solving the challenges that we see today with MDF? How is it going to kind of change the way that the system is going to work? I feel like because currently, I know talking to a lot of partners, they have a lot of challenges when it comes to getting their payment. The timing can take quite a long while. They don't want to act as a bank to partners. Do you feel like when this system is implemented, it's going to enable a more amount of partners, also maybe smaller partners, to be able to benefit from incentives like MDF or rebates?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think this type of infrastructure, this type of technology, what we will enable, this small partner, SMB partner that may not leverage, the strength of corporate like HP, where, you can leverage, an investment, but going into this process of reimbursement will, take longer or may impact, their cash flow, right? And here's the idea is with such infrastructure, you will be able to move much faster in terms of, payment, in terms of being transparent in the rule of the game, and actually even on the participation itself.
I would also like to talk about the idea of DAO, so decentralized autonomous organizations. Now, first, Bilal, I would love for you to kind of explain what this means for anyone who may not be familiar. But you kind of talk about these that can help with managing incentive rules and MDF structures collaboratively. Could you give us an explanation of what DAOs are and how that could help us manage MDF and kind of move away from the top-down approach, as you kind of talked about it before?
Right. Well, a DAO is actually, it sounds complex when you explain it, but the idea is very simple. It's a community or network that manage the rules together, right? There's no more central authority. It's very decentralized, and it's being controlled and within the community. A real example that I would like to share is the Maker DAO. It's they are managing the DAI stablecoin, and here the community has more than 90,000 people. So it's 90,000 address identified. And what the people and this community can do, they can vote on interest rate, they can vote on collateral, and on the rules of the stablecoin itself. So now imagine if you apply this for massive partner ecosystem. You mentioned earlier, Microsoft has more than 400,000 channel partners. CVS Healthcare works with more than 300,000, healthcare, providers. Walmart has more than 100,000 suppliers. Well, it's impossible to keep everyone happy, especially in this top-down type of model, right? So for me, with a DAO, what you can do is that anyone can propose a challenge, right? When you are part of this ecosystem, you can come and request a a change on rebate rules, on, onboarding state, and, whatever. Then comes, the voting phase where all the partners can, select, they can vote. It's very transparent for everyone. And obviously, if it's being approved by the majority, then the smart contracts are being updated automatically. So every vote, every update, every transaction are being stored, are being recorded into the blockchain. And the partner stop being the recipient, right? I didn't know about that, right? I was not aware. Now they start to be co-creator. And for me, the company that will be able to move fast into this type of model will be the one that will have a competitive advantage, because you will have a channel ecosystem, a living ecosystem that will be that will co-lead, with the vendor. We are still very early. Okay. You still need a lot of work related to legal, regulatory, off-chain execution, not necessarily on-chain execution, but the off-chain, on-chain execution. But the direction is clear and it's coming.
Mm-hmm. So you said that we are very early, and I agree. I think there's a lot of road that we have to overcome. I kind of want to understand where you're at with this proposal. I think that you laid the foundations really well. You have written this really well thought out white paper. What are you working right now that's really making you exciting, that could fundamentally change how vendors engage their partners?
Right. So yeah. So when I published the white paper, the feedback has been very positive. Right. I think obviously you still have some people that are not convinced, that they still believe that crypto is just about speculation. So it tells you about their level of understanding, right? But I think people are being curious. They want to learn. They want to understand, the technology behind, right? And that was the goal of this white paper. What I wanted to do is really, trigger and open this type of conversation. I think we are still super early, because maybe probably 3 to 5 years earlier. If you think about it, in the US with the Genius Act, the law has been approved in July this year, right? So it's super early, and usually it takes 24 months until the law is fully operationalized. So the industry is being consolidated. But I think, yeah, if I'm able to get more and more, channel sales leader, channel leader, to understand, the concept of Web3, getting more awareness, more education, I think that's going to be a success on itself. So yeah, I think this is what's coming, FA, and if I can just help this industry get ready with this challenge, the same way as we are getting, now digesting the AI wave, we will need at some point to digest the blockchain wave, and I think it's important to do it as early as we can.
So would it be fair to say, Bilal, to everyone who's listening, that if they're curious, if they want to learn more about it, that they can reach out to you directly?
Absolutely, it will be a pleasure.
Well, you've been working on this for quite a long time, and I'm kind of curious, what are you working currently that's exciting you the most in the next, few months, next year?
Right. Well, right now, the most exciting layer, I would say, it's agentic AI applied to MDF. If you look at, MDF, I would say there are two big phases, right? You have the pre-campaign. It's all about budget allocation, partner activation, and then, campaign preparation. And then you have post-campaign, right? It's all about making sure that, you validate the campaign, you do the payment, you align with, all the thing related to audit and compliance. So for me, both can be completely reimagined with AI agentic, that operate autonomously. We are moving into a world where instant is becoming the new standard. And at HP, we are working very hard to make that happen to our partners. Now, I can't share all the detail yet, FA, but some big innovation are coming.
Amazing. Well, Bilal, thank you so much for joining us. I have one last question before I let you go. We always end the podcast by asking our guests to invite the next guest on the podcast. Who do you think we should have next, who can help us explore more on this topic, and how Web3 can revolutionize the channel?
Well, FA, first, thanks for having me today. Really enjoy the conversation. Maybe for your next guest, I would recommend Christian Catalini. He works at, again, this intersection of incentive, innovation, and Web3. He's the founder of the Crypto Economics Lab at MIT. And I think it would be an amazing voice for your audience.
Well, thank you for your suggestion, Bilal. And Christian, if you're listening, I'll be reaching out to you and hope we can get you on the podcast. And Bilal, I'm really excited to see the next steps in this progress. I think you're working on some really interesting, innovative stuff that really solves major challenges that everyone sees in the channel. Thanks for joining us and see you in the next episode.
Thank you, Efe.